Thanks, Jyoti. That was very nice. Good for a finale, which the audience here would see, especially a lot of youngsters. I have a few questions to ask. I'm mindful of the time, but I just want to ask you. First question is, what made you choose Metaverse as a launch? Very interesting. But for someone to choose Metaverse as a launch, the thought itself is for a platform with a product like this. What's your view?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, once again, good evening to everyone. See, as I was just explaining this in my previous talk also, that for us, whatever we do, we ask ourselves, are we sticking to our core values? And our core values are about safety, about sustainability, innovation, technology. And when I think we looked at possible ways of launching our first electric car, we thought this is the way. I can very quickly touch upon it. When we do it on a metaverse, it is quite safe. I think we are still a bit worried on a pandemic perspective. We are still coming out of it. So if you do it in a metaverse environment and it is more innovative than doing it like we could have done a webinar. That was one option. We have been doing this, but that has become, I think, more boring now. So it was safe. It is sustainable. As I just explained, we avoid people flying in, maybe avoiding carbon footprint. So it is probably lower than usual. So I think that was sustainable angle. And it is innovative. I think trying to create avatar, doing it in an interesting way, making media to pick it up. So I think when we looked at all these angles, they fit very well, and we thought, okay, we were anyway thinking of using Metaverse for something, why not this? So we decided to do our launch using a Metaverse. That's how we decided.
And while you talked about it, but share more in detail your experience of the launch, what has been your experience on the launch?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, yes, it was an experiment. We were, when we decided to go for it, we knew it can come with its own set of, risks. But we said, okay, let's go for it. But in the end, I can say it was quite immersive, overall fantastic. And I think what we wanted, outcomes are always important. We had two things in mind, because that was the day we were announcing our price, and we were going online. And that means customers can now directly order to us online. And there were two clear metrics we had in mind. One was how many customers will book online after we give this message, number one. And number two, what is our share of voice by doing this event on a metaverse. So I think on both fronts, we had really fantastic outcome. This car is like 55.9 lakh ex-showroom price. And in 2 hours, we were able to sell all the 150 cars that we are going to get in next few months, October, November, December, 3 months, we are just sold out already, and beyond that also now. So we got that using Metaverse. And we had something like 300 people coming in from diverse backgrounds. There were dealers, as I said, media, our own employees, and I think it was quite immersive. And the other thing was share of voice. And I think the sort of share that we have seen within our competitive set, it was dominantly visible. So I think it was really fantastic. We are very happy, and it was a unique and immersive experience. It was very interesting for me to be there, responding to media Q&A. Instead of me, it was my avatar who was speaking. Although I was speaking, but it was my avatar which was visible. So it was a very interesting thing, and I'm sure that sort of created a bit of buzz in the media also.
So what do you think, what will be the changes which Metaverse will bring or has brought into the automotive sector?
All right, so I think Metaverse, as we all believe, it's a beginning of a journey. It's something which we are all starting to experiment in our own way. Within automotive, there are possibilities. Some are already using, some will start using, and I think it's going to cut across the whole value chain. So we start from a product development. There is a possibility of doing prototyping using Metaverse. It can involve overall new car development process, which is a very costly affair. It can impact testing. We do crash tests, and we do it with physical cars, and there is a huge cost involved with that. I believe over a period of time, as technology improves, there is a possibility of doing these tests also on Metaverse. But I think in short term, what I believe easy thing to do is product placements, advertising, very much possible. Within advertising, I would say what we call as game advertising. So I think young generation is already on this, and we can be there where customers are and we can sort of start advertising there are events which can be done. And there is another interesting thing which we have started to see in fashion category. I'm sure that can happen in car industry also, is about digital only products. So there are a lot of people who aspire to buy luxury car like Volvo, but in real life maybe it is still, there is an aspiration. But we can have a digital only Volvo for your avatar to move around in a metaverse using a Volvo, could be a possibility. That's how automotive can use. And I think another interesting thing for us, what we are already thinking is, metaverse is where you can build communities. We want like-minded people who are thinking of safety and sustainability, which I spoke about. Can we create communities, people who are there? I think youngsters now want to change the world. Can we sort of get them involved and maybe use them as influencers and I think create a buzz around it? So there is a lot, I would say, which can be done, and it can be done in a very immersive way. Good. So I think you can just imagine which all uses, possible uses are within our own industry and beyond.
So I asked this question of Aman in the previous panel differently. I'm going to ask it differently to you. Do you think metaverse can disrupt marketing?
In my view, yes. I think marketers are always trying to create more engagement, right? So I think you will remember Spider-Man once said, with great powers come great responsibilities. Yes. For a marketer, I would say great engagement comes with great opportunities. So I think this is a great engagement tool. Metaverse is where you can actually engage people in a very different way than we have ever been doing. And hence, marketer always chase where customer goes, and Aman also spoke about it. So there was a time, if we go back in history, when people were moving around in roads, so billboards were very popular. Then came print, everybody's reading paper, so I think everybody started putting their budgets behind print. Then TV, radio, digital, last few years it's moving to digital. Now within digital we are talking about Web 3.0 and a metaverse. So it's going to happen, right? And it is, as I said earlier also, it is a spectrum. It's a combination of how much time consumers or customers are going to spend on metaverse and how immersive experience we can create. And I think the hardware, software will make a difference. How much, let's say, cost effective. Now we were just speaking in the earlier session, data is the base, right? Data has to be cheap, it continues to be cheap, easily affordable. But then on top of it, how, for immersive experience, you need all those AR, VR equipments. How affordable they will become. Correct. I think I'm sure Aman would have been here. Aman has an opportunity. I'm sure he will be able to create something which is going to do that. And I think two important, I would say, other things which from a marketing perspective which are important is creating exclusivity. I just spoke about it. Customers are buying Gucci sneakers online, on metaverse. They can buy luxury cars or whichever car of their choice and actually build those cars in the way they want to build it. And then marketing is not complete if there is no commerce, right? We need to be transactional. And it is possible. I think NFTs and tokens are already there in metaverse. Actually, you can buy either a digital car or a real car using NFTs. Tesla has already announced that they will accept NFTs as payment for real cars. And that's how it's going to change. I think it's going to change for everyone. So I think I believe metaverse will evolve. It is a starting point right now. I think everyone is trying to experiment around it. And from those experiments, we'll learn and we'll scale it up.
So in fact, you preempted my next question, which is around blockchain and NFTs, saying, they're fueling demand. And the question is, how quickly should brands adapt to this technology?
Okay, so I think blockchain and NFT is a buzzword, but I believe within that, blockchain is a platform and NFT is sort of a token, which is, I think, started to go mainstream. May not be our generation, but you talk to youngsters, they are already using tokens and they're already using NFTs in some or the other way. And I think as brands, we need to see how we can create innovative campaigns to drive brand loyalty or create awareness. I can give you an example. I think Gucci first went on Metaverse, offering Gucci sneakers for I think $12 or $13. Yeah. And I think they collaborated with Pokemon Go platform, and I think these are offered. In real life, people cannot buy a Gucci sneaker. They would have costed a few $1,000, but for $12, everybody is coming and buying, and they're sort of fulfilling their aspirations. So NFTs are happening.
Yes.
And following that, what happened, there is another, I read about it, there is a company, a sneaker company in New York. They said, okay, we are not Gucci, we are like simple sneaker company. But what you can do is, if you, by paying NFTs, buy a sneaker for your avatar, we will deliver a real sneaker to your house. So, and I think in I think matter of minutes, I think they were sort of sold out like in some big numbers. I don't remember, but some millions they were talking about is the sort of orders they got. And so there's a lot, but I think another very interesting impact which NFTs can bring to our industry, especially from a marketing perspective, is I think CRM.
Yes.
In CRM, so when we sell a car, we start issuing an NFT to each customer. So there is a unique virtual address that we create for each customer. So tomorrow, if we want to celebrate something, or we have to announce, let's say the company at some point will be celebrating 100 years of existence, and then we say we want to reward all our customers. So we can send another NFT to those NFTs who are already owning a Volvo car. Or we can create a special concert. ABBA is from Sweden. We want to do a ABBA concert and call all Volvo owners on a metaverse to come and, by giving an NFT, they can come and do that. So I think NFTs are, I think, gaining traction, I would say even faster, and metaverse is fueling that, is my view.
Wonderful. So now I'll read this because this is some data which I'm putting out. The Gartner Marketing Survey states that till now 35% of all customers have not heard about Metaverse. Again, Aman referred to this.
Yeah.
But expected by 2025, 25% of people will spend at least 1 hour on it every day. With so much potential that the Metaverse holds in the future, how can brands set the strategy for the long term? Is the question I asked earlier.
Yeah.
Short term, immediate, fad versus long term.
Yeah, so I think if you really want to move in this direction, we really need to understand from a strategy perspective, always we'll start with what you really want to achieve. So you need to, if you want to have a strategy around metaverse, first thing is what is your goal? What do you want to do from this? What are you trying, so what role you want to play? You want to sell online using metaverse, or you want to give experiences, you want to do CRM using metaverse, or you want to create or facilitate interactions. What is your goal? I think be clear. Goal and the role that you want to do. So that's the starting point of a strategy. Then I would say, like we did, the next step should be test and then sort of develop from that. So experiment. We did our launch. I talked about it. Do experiment. Have clear metrics. We had our clear metrics. See, I think what can be possible outcomes that you expect from that, and based on that, learning, adopt, and scale it up. Scaling up will depend upon the outcomes. Again, go back to your goals and see whether this is going to help you. And I think if you are thinking on those lines, then you need to really go back and see what sort of talent do you require, what are the competence you require, because when we moved from, let's say, a regular advertising to more digital, we all started having our own digital agencies, right? They started helping us because we thought we don't know. Now we have our own digital marketing, but how we started was like that. I think same thing here, we will have to find, and when we did this, we worked with WPP and they had provided a lot of support to us in terms of creating this metaverse, in terms of using this in the right way, in terms of creating the metrics. So we'll have to, I think, initially source this talent, maybe through an agency, and later on maybe onboard them within our own organization. So I think first clear goal, be very clear what you want to achieve. Then I would say testing is important, experimenting. It's an experimental phase right now. We really don't know, don't put too much emphasis right now. Maybe as Aman said, maybe only a small percentage of your advertising or your overall budget put into it, learn, and then scale it from there.
Yeah. And again, a question just come up earlier that as metaverse grows, there are certain risks associated with metaverse. So how should brands learn to mitigate those risks?
Yeah, I think Aman said risk is attached with everything. Anything you do in business, there will be risks. And there are obvious risks in using any technology. Technology, there is an underlying technology risk. Here, for example, when we did our media event, we were worried that initially when we were deliberating, we thought, okay, should we call only media and dealers and employees, or we should open it to public and do because in terms of metaverse capability, you can have an infinite number of people coming in. It's just you have to create a bandwidth. So we were a little worried that it can lead to negative experiences. Somebody can start coming, maybe somebody will plant, someone will start saying negative things. So you have to be a little careful. So that's the risk. And you have to think of how can you mitigate risk. One possible way, the way we approached was what we call as a whitelist. We have talked about blacklisting people, but I think there's a way we can do it a whitelist. So decide whom do you want to give access to this metaverse. So we decided, okay, there will be invitation sent to only specific number of people, and only those people can log in. They were given passwords and they can only come in. So it was a whitelisted approach that we followed. The second thing, what we are thinking now is, although we have our own success, let us not try to scale it very fast. I think there is a risk in that. We can't suddenly say that, okay, we'll completely now move our whole digital media budget into metaverse. I think it's not happening. So be careful, decide how fast or how do you want to really scale it up. I think be a little careful on that. Then I think there was a talk about regulations.
Yes.
They don't exist now. Somebody can come and, I think in India we are used to fake objects. So in metaverse also somebody can fake and start using your brand, your logo for any brand. And I think what are the regulations available? How can you do that? So we need to be a little clear on how we can enforce those rights in a metaverse. It is still hazy right now, but that's a risk which comes to my mind. So I think there are risks, but we need to, if we want to really go that direction, we need to be clear as to how we can mitigate those risks.
Good, thank you. So I won't know how all the questions, leave it open because Soumya said to me, be careful of time unlike last time. So to the audience, anything, check with the audience.
So, good evening, sir. I'm Abhishek Dasgupta, IMT Ghaziabad, PGDM DCP. So my question is, if Metaverse is still in a developmental stage, why is Facebook investing so much effort? What could be the plausible reasons why Facebook is investing so much efforts into taking it to the next level?
See, I'm sure, I think Aman also spoke about it. I think technology companies are creating platform. When Facebook was created, it was a platform. Metaverse is the next platform with evolving 5G and other sort of hardware, software I spoke about. There are projections that the revenues through Metaverse by 2030, I don't remember how many $1 trillion, but it is like equivalent of Japan's economy by 2030. And that is probably the reason that everybody is now sort of going after it. And it's happening in developed market. It's happening in its own way. I'm sure all of you would have heard about the Justin Bieber show. We just went with so many people attending that. So there are different uses it will come through, but that's why I think Facebook is a platform which tries to engage people, and Metaverse is the next platform, and they're investing in that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anyone else? For Jyoti?
Good evening, sir. My name is Abhishek again, pursuing PGDM marketing from IMT Ghaziabad. So since the very beginning of the session, we've been hearing about experimenting with Metaverse and Metaverse also evolving at the same time at a very fast pace. As a marketeer, sir, how do we tackle this? Where do we stop with our experimentation and scale it up? Or for how long do we continue experimenting it with?
So I think I touched upon that. So obviously, in our own mind, you should be clear what do you want to achieve, right? In our case, as I said, I think we were very clear that we wanted to launch a new car, and there are options to do it in a physical way or do it in a, let's say, a webinar way or a metaverse way. And we said, okay, what do we want? We spend X amount. By spending that X amount, we want this much of share of voice, and we want this much of, let's say, bookings or pre-orders that we really wanted at that point of time. And also, we were worried on risks, which I spoke about. So, and I think when you do that experiment, you come back and say, okay, this is working well. What else you can do? having done this, so we have invested in creating a platform, a metaverse, which we called as a Volvoverse. Now we are already thinking, right now in our own organization, we work on a, let's say, a hybrid way, right? So can we use this Volvoverse? We have a monthly town hall where all employees come together. All of them actually created an avatar. Can we do our town hall using this? So now the investments are not there, but we'll continue to experiment without much cost. There will be cost, but of using that, but the development has been done. How we can leverage that investment already has been done into this. Can we do a dealer conference, calling them now on a Volvoverse and sort of sharing it in that platform? And we keep learning. And I think from those experiments, I'm sure you would have heard about MVPs. This is like an MVP. You learn and you then go to next level, add value, do something else. So I think it's a natural process. It's very difficult to say where do you stop. You don't stop, you evolve and you scale up. That's how I would say. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I am Jitendra, PGDM Marketing from IMT Ghaziabad. Sir, my question is, what is the basis of valuation in Metaverse? For example, we talk about digital assets, like we could buy land, we could buy a shoe. Then what differentiates that shoe from a normal shoe? There is no product quality, nothing. The only valuation would be the public perception. So how could we depend on such digital assets? Thank you.
Yeah, so this is, I think, I would rather ask this question to you. I'm sure there is a value, right? When we go and buy gold, okay, there is a value. That's why you pay so much for gold, because it's a rare commodity. So the value comes from rarity, and even in digital world, there is only limited space, right? So you pay for that. You want to be there. So H&M wants to set up a store in Metaverse. They have to pay and buy that space so that when their prospective customers are coming in, they have the best visibility out of all people. And then it is a human behavior. Today we buy the best of the clothes, and the way we present ourselves in real world is because we want people to look at it in some way. Social media, we have all profile pictures, use Instagram to do what, right? Now you pay for it and create your own avatar and I think do experiences. But yes, over a period of time, the value will come, as a marketer, it will come based on how much time my prospective customer is actually going and spending on Metaverse. Today we are spending more on social media. We knew a lot of customers are coming to Facebook, and I think we were all sort of following them and using. They are moving to Insta, we are moving to Insta. They will move to Metaverse, we'll move to Metaverse. And when we all start moving to Metaverse, there is a value there, right? That's how the value comes.
Put it, if I may add, sir, on your behalf, to put it simplistically, value is always supply by demand, isn't it? Supply divided by demand. Here you start the word perceived. Perceived value is equal to perceived supply by perceived demand by perceived supply. So that's going to be real. Whether it's a shoe, or whether it's real life shoe, or whether it's a shoe in Metaverse, it's going to be always a perception of what the demand is divided by what the supply is. That's the simple way of looking at it.
Exactly. Thank you.
Evening, sir. Pratik Ghosh here from IMT Ghaziabad. So, Volvo had a media event regarding the launch. So, I wanted to ask what's next? What are you planning to do next for the brand? Because, when we talk about cars, big part of it is the experience of driving it and actually seeing how it actually feels. So, what's next according to you?
Okay, so I think it's not that I'm not talking about only our company, but I think what I see next happening is, I think, virtual showrooms coming up, right? It's already there. I think Grand Vitara launched around a week back. They have created what they are calling as a Nexaverse. And it's not just for the launch day that Nexaverse is now available to consumers, can come in and actually sort of engage. But I think with technology, things will change. Today, in our industry, one of the key ingredients for improving your sales is considered to be test drive, right? test drive is very, very physical. Who knows with technology evolving, there are, how pilots learn? There are simulators. And those simulators can now go into Metaverse and I can create a real car experience with sound. Okay, electric cars won't make any noise any which ways, but you get to sort of experience that test drive in Metaverse. Just imagine. I don't know when it is coming, but it's coming. But stores are coming, in my view, very, very quickly, because anyway the real estate, as we were discussing, cost on real world is anyway so high. Before it becomes so costly in Metaverse, better be there and I think grab some space there and use it.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions there?
Hi sir, my name is Satyam. I'm from IMT Ghaziabad. So I have recently been introduced to a new source of clean energy, that is green energy, green hydrogen. The government has also been promoting it. So how would green energy or green hydrogen cars compare to an electric vehicle, or are they even a possibility in the near future?
See, I think there are different technologies emerging, right? Only time will tell which is going to be more sustainable than other. But as of today, when you look around global companies, Indian companies, looks like, given the different choices, right? Specifically in India, government is, I think, nudging in two directions. If you want to continue on the IC engine cars, they're talking about ethanol mix, right? Which is biofuel. So that is one direction. Or you go full electric. India, I think that's how the ecosystem is working, and I think now a lot of global companies have invested so much, I don't think there is anything going back. So I think I see more and more movement towards electric. Other technologies also develop. See, it was diesel, was also petrol and also CNG, right? So I'm sure, I think as things go, ultimately it's going to be the cost of acquisition, cost of maintenance, which will ultimately decide. Electric looks like at a point of evolution now where it is becoming more affordable and still sustainable. So that's my view.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Any other questions or shall we wrap up?
Hi sir, this is Ria from PGDM Marketing from IMT Ghaziabad. So my question is related to the generation gap basically. The Gen X and above people are not well versed with the technology or the concept of virtual reality. Also, major part of the population in that category are rigid towards their views. So what should be our strategy for that category to make them familiar with the concept?
So I think within the family, we know India is a young country. We all talk about demographic divide and demographic benefits that we speak about. And I think you would have heard since morning, everybody is talking about people of my age coming and talking about their teenage children. They are the influencers. So how they got into Facebook? You guys, right? When we saw our children getting into Facebook, they wanted us to, now they are pushing us out, that's a different story, but they are the ones who got them on Facebook. They are the ones who are sort of, now we are seeing them go into Insta, we go into Insta. So I think it is this younger generation which more than us that trying to do ourselves. So we try to ensure that more youngsters are made familiar. They adopt this, and through them we will be able to adopt, make sure that their parents and the older generation is also sort of brought into this Web 3.0 or virtual reality or whatever.
If I make a stab at that, since I'm the oldest person in this room, I can speak from a personal opinion that there's a huge fear of missing out, So the FOMO which operates for young people in one way, for older people like us, it operates in a reverse way. And I'm reasonably sure, Aman alluded to his father reading the newspaper like a rigid habit, but when Aman goes to work, I'm sure his father will be reading a lot on social media which Aman doesn't know about, I can speak for myself. So rest assured, when these movements come to critical mass, whatever the critical mass you can't define, it just catches fire, irrespective of age, sex, creed, whatever, it just takes off. So don't worry too much about that. I can assure you of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, Soumya, shall we? Thank you a lot, Jyoti. That was very interesting and engaging. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.